good afternoon. And everybody take a breath and say good afternoon. Thank you. If you've made it to the back of the worksheet at the bottom, you're going to see measure signatures. Take a breath and say, measure signatures. Measure signatures. You got it. Also in music, a synonym for these would be time signatures. So you may also refer to them as time signatures. So take a breath and say that. Time signatures. Take a look at the 3 lines at the bottom of the back side of the worksheet. I'm going to show you how to draw them. You're going to look and draw each of the measure or time signatures. The first one has a number 2 that's written on the 3rd line. Remember, we call these lines 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these spaces as 1, 2, 3, 4. When I draw the number 2 for a measure or a time signature, I'm going to draw between the 5th and the 3rd line. So for those directions, you need to look at number 2 and copy number 2. Next to that is the same thing except for a number 4. Again, we're going to stay between the 5th and the 3rd line. So again, if you could take a look and copy numbers 2 and number 4 on the top half of the measure. The second line, you see a symbol, and that's for cut time. Take a breath and say, cut time. Cut time. The way that I remember cut time is that it looks like a C that's been cut in half. I'm going to draw that between the 4th and the 2nd line. And I'm going to draw a C that looks like this. I'm going to draw a dot right above the 3rd line. And I'm going to curl all the way up to the 4th and all the way down to the 2nd line to make my C. After that, I'm going to put a big line through it. And that indicates cut time. The symbol that's next to that is the number 2, and below that is a half note. Take a breath and say half note. Half note. From the 5th to the 3rd line, we're going to draw the number 2. Below that, on the 2nd space, we're going to draw a hollow note head. And lastly, we're going to draw the stem from the left side of the note head down past the staff. This symbol, for example, is indicating that we have 2 beats in a measure, and the half note value gets the macro beat. Next to that, you have 2 numbers, a 6 and an 8. We're going to stay between the 5th and the 3rd line for the 6, and the 3rd and the 1st line for the 8. This number indicates that there are 6 beats in the measure, and the 8th note gets the micro beat. Next to that, you have the numbers 2, and below that a dotted quarter note. Take a breath and say dotted quarter note. Dotted quarter note. We're going to draw a filled in note head on the 2nd space. And below that, a note stem that goes beyond the staff. Finally, look on line 3. The numbers here that are on lines 5 to line 3 are the numbers 3, and next to that, the number 1. So make sure that you're looking and copying each one of those, and if you're finished, raise your hand and let the teacher know that you've completed your work. Thanks, guys. And remember, when we're working with these types of symbols, the first thing we need to do is practice how to draw them. After that, we can add context to the content. Thanks, guys.